Hello and welcome back to the Battle Wagon. 2 days ago I made fun of Warlord for not having published an FAQ since 2022. Well, after 533 days, it's officially here. Better late than never, right? I'm happy to say that it includes some much needed love and clarifications for this game. And I promise you, this video is real, and the FAQ and Errata did in fact come out. I've included a link in the doobly-doo below. There are a decent number of unit nation combinations presented in this rules update for the truck, utility car, artillery tractor, horse-drawn limber, Sonderkraft Fahrzeug 250-4 anti-aircraft version, Commandos LMG team, Polish sniper team, P26/40 quote-unquote heavy tank, Fiat 665 NM Protetto, and finally the Flamethrower team, which is new to a few of the minor nations. First off is the truck that can be taken by any army, and this is now new for many minor nations. Keep in mind that it is generic, so you do not benefit from any of those national rules. So even if you take a truck in the Canadian Army using this rule, in order to get that front arc MMG, you would not be able to use Vengeance, for example. There are numerous Warlord models to represent this. However, keep in mind that if you're using the Duck W or the Einheit Cecil as seen here, even though they're considered amphibious trucks, you could not feasibly use the amphibious special rule with them as it is not outlined in this entry. Next up is the utility car. Similarly, it is new for many of the minor nations and can be used in any army. It is generic, so again, no national rules and numerous Warlord models. 3-man transport, nothing special here. Next up is the artillery tractor that can be used by any army. This is also new for many nations, including Germany, believe it or not. It is generic, so you do not benefit from any national rules, and there are numerous Warlord models. However, I've chosen to highlight my own personally painted one from a 3D model sculpted by Wyndham Graves. I use this one quite a bit as it is found in the D-Day Overlord book. My issue with this, however, is that the entry does not specify motive. There are numerous artillery tractors that have been used throughout the war, and while being a tracked or half-tracked vehicle is not represented as a special rule, it is usually ignored in unit entries. So if you were British, you could take the Morris Quad C8 tractor, or the Belgians could take the fully tracked version for the Belgian Vickers utility tractor, or even the Italian Breda 61 Prime Mover. There are numerous versions of a artillery tractor that is generic that have different modes of transportation. I do not like this unit as a rule because it does not specify transport capability, and it seems like you would always want to take the half-track version. Next up is the horse-drawn limber that can be taken in any army. This was previously generic in Tough Gut with all of the exact same clarifications. It's nothing new. There's no Warlord model. I've chosen to include one of their pike and shot gun limbers here. But again, there's some modeling for advantage that can often happen. I've played against an opponent who had a tiny little mule that they hid behind a building and they called it their horse-drawn limber. Things like that. And I'm not a huge fan when there's too much ambiguity behind some of these generic units. How many horses should it have? Should it have one per size category of the artillery it's towing or anything like that? Or should it have an actual wooden carriage attached to it? I would like to see maybe some general guidelines on modeling this type of unit, or at least set forth by TOs. Next up is the Sonderkraft Fahrzeug 250-4 Alta anti-aircraft half-track. This unit previously appeared in the most recent 250 Alta kit as an AA variant, and even came with a stat card in that book. They did say quite quickly from responding to an email that it would be included in the upcoming FAQ, which we finally got. It does have a twin flak MMGs, which produces 12 shots, which is pretty respectable for 75 points. However, it is completely overshadowed by the Panzer I. Anything that can be taken in that slot of the armored fighting vehicle, such as this anti-aircraft vehicle, does a better job with the Panzer I. However, I can definitely see taking this in maybe an armored platoon or a casual event because it is cool to have that twin-mounted Oerlikon mount on there. Next up is the Commandos LMG team. This is found in the British and Inter-Allied Weapons Team box straight off of the Warlord website. It is veteran only. It is a small team at 2-man, which gives it a little bit of survivability. And it is a 5-dice machine gun because it is a Vickers K light machine gun. Notably, it does not have the fixed rule, so you can move and shoot this just like the German LMG team, which I think is a phenomenal way to treat this type of weapon. It does only come as veteran, however. but it does get the extra benefit behind enemy lines and tough fighters rules. Next up is this Polish sniper team. Previously, Poland did have a sniper team, but it was limited only to their Armia Krajowa selector. I would have rather them just say, hey, this one's usable in all of them, and then saved a lot of text or whatever. It's just a standard sniper, not a big deal. However, they forgot the Free French yet again. Their sniper team is still 52 points, unlike all the other snipers, and doesn't even have the sniper rule. I would have rather them taken some effort to actually fix that. Okay. Before I move on to the next couple units, there's already been some discussions on the Facebook, Discord, and all the different things about, some of the units don't actually state where they can be used, so they're generic units now suddenly. Well, this is directly off Warlord's website and says, Errata are changes to the text of the published books. Now, why is that important? Is because there is a difference between an FAQ, which is an overall ruling, and an errata, which is for a specific book or section. And because it's an errata to a book, it has to have a section. So first off is the P2640 heavy tank, which appears immediately after the Italian units without any additional clarifications. So this is not generic. It is, in fact, an Italian vehicle, and I will argue that to my grave. There is no Warlord model for this one, so I've included the Dewey Cat one that can be found on Wargaming 3D. However, the unit's mediocre at best. I don't know why people are having this type of argument. It's obviously an Italian tank. Sure, could they have written the rules a little bit better? Yes. Do they have worse rules that are written? Yes. Move on. Fiat 665 NM Protetto, same thing. It's immediately after the Italian units in the Errata for the Italians and Axis book. It is fully enclosed for 20 men. However, it can add 2 MMGs. There's no Warlord model, so I've chosen to include the Wargaming 3D themselves model of the shot up one, because if you're going to be using a Guastatori squad with 2 flamethrowers, it's likely going to be a bullet magnet. Keep in mind that both of the MMGs are front arc. Last but not least is the Flamethrower team, which is added to Romania, Hungary, and Bulgaria. However, Romania and Hungary already had this unit in Case Blue, so it is only new to Bulgaria. This is just a standard flamethrower. Yeah, I think it's about right that they should have it. Next up are going to be some of the unit changes: German armored cars, U.S. flame tanks, Polish transports, Hungarian cavalry, and the Naval Observer. For the German armored cars, the SDKFC 250-9 deleted the open top special rule previously in an errata. However, now it increases the cost by 5 points in order to account for that fully enclosed. That treatment has been extended to the 221, 222, and 223, as they do carry the same turret mounting. This is especially beneficial to the Bulgaria and Romania theater lists that can take this vehicle, and is extremely good with the Case Blue improvised AT rule for any of you Romanian players. Please note that within about 30 minutes to an hour after releasing the FAQ, I did see that this vehicle is sold out on Warlord's website. Go figure. U.S. flame tanks get a slight modification. They add the gyro-stabilized turret mounting and increase their veterancy cost by 10 points. Polish transports for the half-track truck and the PZI and Z302 field car have their capacity increased from 5 to 6, and here we have the Kigris version that can be found on Warlord's website. Next up, Hungarian cavalry section. This is a much-needed rule. However, it does not apply to all Hungarian cavalry, only the section stated in the Italy in the Axis book. There are no Warlord models for this, so I've included the Great Escape Games Hussar troop, which I personally field in my German army, where I've head swapped some of them and stuff. There is a further errata to Panzerfaust. No, they are not 10 points. It does state that in all instances of this book, the cost of 10 is reduced down to plus 5. They are still 5 points even for this. That is how erratas work, people. Last but not least in this presentation is the Naval Observer. The cost of all Naval Observers in every book should be changed to 180 points regular, 195 points veteran. This is no change. Again, why are they including changes that are not changes? Italy Soft Underbelly already had this cost printed in its book, and the DD Overlord already had it errata later on in their errata. I'm a little uncertain about this because it's already there. All right, next up I wanted to go through some of the actual text of the FAQ. Escape reactions does clarify targeting as the qualifying event in the escape reaction. We'll just scroll down. This is all stuff that we have already covered. The Zippo. Okay. Commando LMT team. Nothing new in any of these other ones. The Polish sniper. There's the Hungarian change. Flamethrower team. All right, FAQ. All right. If you lose men on an artillery unit and you are out of cohesion, you can now advance order to reposition the crew and still fire the gun. If an armored vehicle is assaulted and gets a damage roll that says an additional pin, you still get 1 pin. If you are a vehicle and you turn and you now can suddenly move further, that is fine. If you approach a building or want to be in a building and somebody wants to close to you, they gave the worst answer possible. I'm not even touching this one with a 10-foot pole. Mountaineers do in fact ignore rough ground, as they state in the rule, even in assaulting. If you take a 3-for-1 in the command slot, you must pay HQ cost for each of those 3 bikes. This also has the added clarification embedded within it that you can take multiple extra selections in the same slot. There were some tournament rules and some TOs that were limiting it to if you have 2 anti-tank slots, you could only 3-for-1 one of those. This was kind of a nice little clarification to that additional rule as well. Moving along, we have, survey says, tank riders. All right. T-34 tank riders, if they are targeted by prep bombardment, they do disembark as well. I've seen some people not liking this, but I don't mind it. For example, if you had tank riders, you would pretty much always put them off board as reserves, which is pretty much what you should be doing anyway, because vehicles you don't want hit by prep bombardment. However, if you are putting them out for prep bombardment, you might as well put that vehicle as far forward as possible, get some inches on it, and then when prep bombardment goes after those tank riders, you disembark outside of your deployment zone, and now they're immune. You have an additional unit that is immune to preparatory bombardment, and that is risky for the vehicle, yes, but it can be a beneficial situation. If you are hit with 2 flamethrowers, you only take 1 D3+1 pin set instead of 2, and only 1 test. Passengers do not have line of sight to Tiger Fear causing vehicle, or indeed to anything else. Unfortunately, this is contradictory to the Vengeance rule, so I wish they would make up their mind one way or the other. This is fine, however, and the Vengeance one doesn't actually come up a lot, but passengers in a transport do still get to use Vengeance per the FAQ, if I'm not mistaken. Partisans in buildings, I really like this clarification because it adds definity gameplay. All books, there's the Naval Observer 1. Case Blue, there's lots of stuff here. Bicycle, motorbike, infantry section. This one's weird because the additional infantry still cost 11 points and 14 points respectively. I think they just didn't finish this errata. Improvised AT specifying heavy weapons. Thankfully, now we can stop with that argument. Romanian Thurs army selector. Add stragglers. I mean, I think they could do a little bit of a better job getting some of this stuff out. This rules clarification seems kind of silly for the Slovakian army. What other rule set were they trying to use? Just some additional stuff for D-Day US. Added the mortar carriers. Delete the D-Day only special rule. This was you couldn't take machine guns as, I think, Rangers or Airborne or something like that. Didn't seem to be too big of a deal. This one's a bit long needed. The Chinese Jeep now has a transport capacity. It never did before. So silly. Hungarian parachute assault squads, using those 2 theater selectors. Lots of clarifications in Italy Tough God. This is rather unfortunate that they would have to go through and make this many clarifications. I think the choose only one option that they've added, if anyone was saying, oh, I'm making this a 4th Fallschirmjäger, but it's also 1st Fallschirmjäger, so it gets both rules kind of thing. That is, I can't believe that they feel the need to make that kind of clarification. Borg Ward does in fact affect actual units, not just buildings, things like that. LMG cost. This one was interesting. Paracadusti, same thing. A lot of this stuff is nothing too big. The scenarios, there has been a lot of discussion from a small group of people that were playing through the scenarios and like, where do I deploy? I don't know how to deploy or set up. So these are actually really good clarifications. I commend the people that discovered that by actually playing the scenarios. There are so many people that buy these books, me included, that don't read the scenarios in detail. Mariana and Palau, you do get range modifiers when using the canister rounds, which in my opinion should never be allowed at a competitive event in the existence. IJA scouts, any of those three guys can have SMGs, and I think that pretty much covers it. The rest is going to be in Korea. Oh, the off-clearing group recon vehicle is a rule of spotting people at 18 inches, and open-topped is not a rule when they are soft-skinned vehicles. So they've just removed that and given it recce, which does already have this. And the cool thing about having those up to 5 Kuba wagons with recce then is you do have a lot of dice advantage and can scoot them around quite a bit. This was changed to 1 NCO. I mean, if people were claiming officer bonuses off that, it's pretty questionable kind of thing. All right, and that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed this review of the official and actual February 2024 FAQ and errata. Have a wonderful day.